Hello, let's make sure that the streaming works. Okay. Hello and welcome to Backend Services webinar in Mercedes-Benz Digital Challenge. My name is Milad and I'm working on backend API and infrastructure in high mobility. Before we start, anytime you have questions, just drop it in the comment section and I'll get back to you at the end of the webinar. I hope that so far you have enjoyed and leveraged from the API that we have provided you in those E-Class cars and managed to verify your idea with the current setup. I'm sure that you have noticed by now that if you want to distribute the app to your customers, the current approach of copy and pasting a snippet is not going to fly. The idea of the snippet is just gives you a head start to test and verify your business cases. Actually, that's why I'm here today with you. My goal of this webinar is to help you to finish the last step of your application. Let's review the actors and resources that we would have in your applications. Of course, you have a user A that installs your application and have authority over the phone and your app, and user B which is the car owner, and in order to get access to the car, we need the user B's car approval. Sometimes these user A and B are the same, like in some kind of applications, and in other kind like car sharing, the user A and B are different. So you need to ask a different person to give you the consent to access the car. In order to integrate your backend, we need to download three things from the backend services. You need to download the device certificate and access token from Developer Center. And you need to download the access certificate, which we make it much more easier by implementing it inside the SDK. And if the names are scary, don't worry, I'm going to explain them in the next slides. And just bear in mind, as I mentioned, that depending on your app functionality, the phone user and car owner could be the same person or different person. Let's go to the first, downloading the first thing, which is device certificate. Device certificate is a certificate that proves the app has been created by a certified developer. Without the device certificate, your app won't be able to communicate with any car. I try to describe it from the point that your app is installed. So let's say user A installs your app and probably sign up and log into your application, into your account that you have. After that process is finished, you need to use our SDK to create the key pairs. The key pairs includes the private key and public key. As the name implies, you must keep the device private key in the phone and do not transfer it in your backend under no circumstances. But you should use the device public key to create a device certificate. So this part is dependent on your backend. You will send the device public key to your backend, and your backend can use the service icon API that we provide to create the access token and authorization token and the device certificate, and it returns the device certificate back to your backend, and then your backend is responsible to sync back the device certificate to the appropriate user and keep it locally and provide it to the Node SDK. The phone SDK to use it in the communication with the car. Just a review. If you want to know more about how the device certificate works, the internal of it, you can visit the link that is above. As I mentioned, it's just a certificate that proves the app being created by the certified developer. By doing this step, you don't need to do copy pasting of the device certificate anymore, so you are independent from that part. Let's go to the next part. Let's see if we can also get independent from all the snippets from the UI. First, we go through the flow that user A and B are the same. The examples would be the car diagnostic or driver profile applications. After user installs the app installs the app and you downloaded the device certificate, you would ask the user that I want to access to your car. So you request the user to link the app to the car, and then you will start authorization flow, or we call it OAuth flow. In the user's phone browser, it will pop up, it will open a new window, and that window user A will log in to her own account that connected to the car, and then approves that your application is allowed to access to the car. After user approves by clicking that is granted the access, we will redirect user back to your application, and in your application you can call our backend servers, DC Developer Center, to get the access token back. Access token is something that you can use for creating the certificate to access to the car. And item 9 and 8 and 9 are the functions are already implemented in SDK. So as long as you get the access token from the backend, item 7, you can use the SDK to get the access certificate that communicate to the car. Let's do a live demo of this app. So I would go to the challenge. Okay, I would go to download page and samples. We have an iOS basic OAuth. So this is the application. Let's look at the source. It should have mention some steps. Okay. So here it asks us to download the device certificate. Of course, if you did the integration with the backend, you don't need this part. You don't need this part anymore. So I will go to develop and application. This one, sandbox device. Yeah. And here it explains how to get the configuration to do the in-app authorization. We need to go to the OAuth client page, copy the client ID here. Let's do from the top. I would go to the application, copy the app ID. The app ID is assigned to your application, so it would be a fixed value for you. Okay, the rest are from the other page. Redirect a screen. Scope is the list of permission that you want to acquire. I would put the example one. We want to access door lock and for read and write. And token URL I can copy from here. Okay, so now I try to run the application. So now I share my page. Good. So this is the application open. When you open the application, it automatically open the OAuth flow. So now let me also go to the car before the car open. Okay, so in the OAuth flow, I will choose my OEM. Then choose the login, choose my account that access to the car. I choose my car, and then it asks that if this app is if the user approved that this application access to their information. I grant access, and it will ask that it want to open your application back. And it downloads the access token, downloads access certificate, and as you see here, it connects through telematics to the emulator and opens the door. Like, make sure if this is the case, that if this is the application that you are building, the flow is like that. Make sure to look at that example, and you will see how will it work in details. So that's one of the way to authenticate, to get access, to get the details from the server securely. So it will help you to download the access token. Access token is signed most of the time by the OEM and includes the permission, the period that this permission is valid, and some basic information about the car, in order to have a secure connection to the phone. It's an important part. Maybe if while you are implementing and using the snippets, you don't see this detail, this security details, but this is the important pillar of the security in this connection to the car. So by automating this part, you would eliminate this copy-pasting this part of the snippet from the UI. Well, let's see how would it work if we have a different flow. If the user A and B are not the same, this is a common case, because example would be the car sharing and delivery services that is hot now. It's a hot service now to provide. So let's say the user B is the person that wants to buy something from your website, and the user A is the person that delivers the packet to your car, to your trunk, for example. So user B goes to their website and does the checkout. In the checkout page, the e-commerce website and asks the e-commerce website that I want you to deliver the packages to my trunk. In order to grant access to e-commerce website needs to redirect user to the OAuth flow. And again, if you use this this OAuth flow is the standard, is an industrial standard flow to getting the access tokens from the remote accounts. If you log in with your Facebook or with your Google account into different websites, you more or less it's exactly work the same. So the e-commerce website directs user to the OAuth flow. User log into the car account and grant access to the e-commerce to access to the car. And when the granting access, the button is pressed, we redirect user to your backend server. From your backend server, you can call our developer center and get the access token and save it locally in your database. Later, you can sync the access tokens to the phone, and whenever the delivery is going to happen, that delivery person can get the access certificates to the specific car from the specific device and deliver the stuff to the car. So let's do a quick recap. You need to implement the service account API, which is most important job is to create the device certificate. So it validate that the application that is going to connect to any car around it is a certified developer. And also you need to implement the OAuth API, which basically allows you to get access to the car. OAuth flow, as I mentioned, supports in-app and server-side app. And finally, you can use the access tokens that you retrieved and use it in the SDK and download the access certificate, which is the final certificate that you need to access to the car. I will try to leave the links. These are all clickable links. I will leave these links inside the YouTube post and you can go and read more about them. Let's see if there is any question. I'll wait for a few minutes. If you have any question, you can ask inside the chat. Okay, so far no questions. Don't feel rush. You can check. You can ask any if you have any further question. You can just ask the question inside the forum or in the Slack. I'm always available in the Slack. And good luck in the challenge. Goodbye.